happens again. And then speaking about that, the history of this country is something that, year on year, we take a look at things and see in a manner of taking stock where we are coming from. But then for quite a number of people, they think that we didn't have a properly defined manual in terms of where we're coming from. As such, we seem to be wobbling, trying to achieve the big target such that everybody kind of did thump their chest and say, for this green white flag, I stand. Do you share the same view that we don't seem to have it properly cut out from the start?
Well, when people look at taking a discussion on Nigeria, everybody will look at it from their own perspective. And some people will say, let's go all the way back to when the British came. Even some people say, no, let's go beyond when the British came, and so on and so forth. But the point really is that Nigeria is a nation that is not working, and everybody can appreciate that it's not working. The point of takeoff is, if it's not working, what do you do? How do you really want a country? Do you want a federation? Do you want what we have today, which is a unitary government?
Unitary?
Yes, we have a unitary government that is...
even though it's a federal system, according to our laws.
That is covered by something called a federation, but we know that that is not true. Essentially, if you're a federation, that means that you're all contributing. But what we have is not a federation in which everybody is contributing. We have a federation in which a few people are contributing and the rest are a sharing federation where we just sit down there to share. And that's why you have talks about devolution of power, restructuring, and so on and so forth. And I can tell you this, to bring it very clear. Sometime in the, I think in the 7th Senate, either in the 7th Senate or in the 8th Senate, we had a debate on devolution of power in order to amend the Constitution. And while we were having that discussion, we also had a vote. And the vote for devolution of power failed. And it failed principally because some of our colleagues from certain sections of the country felt that they will lose if devolution of power goes on. And after that vote, I had a discussion with a former governor of one of the northern states. And I sat with him and I said to him, I really need to know why you're so much against devolution of power. Because it will also affect you positively. And he told me, he said, every month I have asked governor, we used to come to Abuja to get allocation of funds from the federal purse. If that is removed, my state will collapse because we cannot generate what will give us the funding to be able to run the state. And that gives you an idea of how the federation is run. I didn't blame him. What I blamed was the fact that we had, by either choice or happenstance, found ourselves in a situation in which nobody thinks outside the box. Nobody tries to say, how do I wean myself from this? With apologies to Kweremadu, he called it a feeding bottle structure.
Senator, is it a function of the system of government we are running, or it's just the way we are? Because, I mean, you would also recall, I said many would, that in the First Republic, the different regions were economically vibrant, and they didn't have to depend on the center for anything.
Well, you know, sometimes you can do something you think is good, and you will end up taking it to a situation where it is no longer viable. At the point at which General Gowon needed to win the war and set things, that's when they created the 12-state structure. Subsequently, after the 12-state structure, because each of those states was still viable on its own, then every other military regime that came tried to appease maybe constituents, elements within the country and all that, and continue dividing and creating entities. And now we find that entities are just not viable. And so each entity now has to wait to go cap in hand every month to be able to have sustenance to service the bloated structures. It's not that it can't work. It is that when you get used, and that's why we use the simile of feeding bottle. When you get used to just living off something, then you are no longer motivated, let's just say, to work for yourself. And we can see this very clearly. Niger State in Nigeria is bigger than the whole of almost Western Europe, Niger State. Yet, just a small part of Western Europe called Netherlands supply milk to the whole world, and you're able to survive. But Niger State cannot on its own survive. It has to come here every month. So you ask yourself, with all this landmass, with every other thing that is with you, why are you not focusing on your strength?
You know, that...